Thank you, Deba. Thank you for inviting me here, and I'm happy to be around. Deba, let me start by saying the state of the nation is bad, and that's why the Ruto must go thing is in the air. Actually, I would say that is just the tip of the iceberg. You know, there's so much anger and pain in this country. If people were to express it, then it would drown the Ruto must go. It will be much louder, much bigger, much messier than Ruto must go. And let me say one thing about the state of the nation. The problem we now face in this country, Deba, is we are trying to panel beat things to work when what we need is an overhaul. The country has gotten to a point of national consciousness, the expression of which was captured by the Gen Z revolution. And when a people have achieved the sort of consciousness this country has achieved, you cannot turn them back. And that is the problem we have. The problem of not recognizing that we need a reset button. This country requires a paradigm shift in many of the things we do and in the way we do those things. So even if you just take basic examples like SHA, you've heard Sosion, you've heard Dr. Nikal and the rest people about SHA, for example. You cannot make SHA work in this country. There is need for new thinking. And the new thinking is even simple. We are trying to complicate things which are supposed to be basically very simple. If you look at the amount of money we put aside for health in our budget, and the amount of money people contribute, those who can contribute, what is simple is to offer free quality health care in this country. America can afford to give everybody free health care quality, but they don't do it because they are a capitalist society and you need the various players, the medicals, the pharmaceuticals, they have to participate in the economy as capitalists. So you cannot give free medical uh, health care in America because you'll cripple the economy and the other players. And the American public can afford. You cannot bring that model to a country like Kenya, for heaven's sake. Look at education. Looking at the level of poverty in this country, you cannot operate any arrangement, whatever you call it. So it's not a question of how you assess which bands, which student. That can't work. The simple option is there. Provide free education to university students. Otherwise, you are creating a monster that will devour all of us. Why? Education at university will remain a preserve of the rich and the thieves. There are going to be so many students from university who start university, can't finish, and they drop out of university and spill into the streets. They will be bitter with society for that purpose. And they're intelligent human beings. We cannot be safe. So, in summary, in terms of what's going on in this country, we are trying to panel beat things that can't work. We need a fresh start, a fresh overhaul, a paradigm shift in the way we look at things and do things. Now, to go briefly to the intelligence, it is part of the same story. Because things are not working in the country, because of this anger in the country, because of the pain in the country, because of the expressions such as Ruto must go, because of what certainly is instability in the country, the security sector cannot work optimally. Bad politics in our country, instability in our country affects the military, it affects the intelligence, it affects the entire security sector, and they can't work optimally. That's what we are facing in this country. So you see, in terms of what the CDF said, and I produced a video on that, and the intelligence boards, You see, if there was time, we could go into a bit of history, but let's not go there. Let's just say that it is important for the security sector to open up and engage with the public in the manner the bar you have suggested. You can see CIA, they interact with the public. We are still operating in the dark. So, was it a good thing for CDF and Nurdin Haji of intelligence to come up? Certainly, yes. Was it the timing right? No. We need to rework our security sector. We need to reform the intelligence and slowly get to a point where they now openly engage with the public. When it's done abruptly in the manner it was done, then the people give this pronouncement only one interpretation, that the CDF chief and the intelligence chief are doing President Ruto's bidding. They are threatening Kenyans. They are gagging Kenyans. They are telling Kenyans, don't say Ruto must go. Don't fight for your rights. So they are scaring Kenyans, gagging them, threatening them. That is the interpretation. But remember, the bar, there could be a better interpretation. In other words, the military, like I've said, and the NIS and the entire security sector is affected by the unrest in the country. And they are merely trying to share the information with the public. So the first interpretation, they are warning us, they are threatening us. A more serious interpretation would be they are trying to tell Kenyans, almost pleading with Kenyans, look here, this is our country. It would appear we are not aware that we could be crashing this plane called Kenya. So what I'm saying is, therefore, in summary, it was a good thing to open up, but the interpretation that people would give, because they didn't control the narrative thereafter. The interpretation is they were scaring people. Yet there is a better interpretation, is they are trying to share with the public. But they are doing it before they prepare the same public. So we need to reform our security sector, finally, especially the intelligence. And if I had time, I'll go through that. I don't have the time. We reform the security sector up to a point where they can communicate with the public. And that will mean creating the communication infrastructure. It cannot just be director of DG of NIS. It cannot just be CDF bombarding the public with an opinion. No, it must be structured. We must create institutions through which the military, through which the NIS can communicate effectively and engage with the public. Let me stop there for now.
For that, let me come back to Honorable Susion. We have Herman Manyora saying that this particular lecture, or this is Professor Masharep, that this particular lecture was ill-timed. And Herman thinks as well that they need strategic communication. What is your sentiment?
Yeah, thank you, Debal. I've listened to everyone in the room. And concerning the statement that came from the NIS and the CDF, I think we must appreciate as a country that we have institutions that are very professional, very effective, and now they must be accountable to the public. They cannot be accountable to the public if they are not interacting with the public. And I believe at this stage, the media and everyone should be congratulating the NIS for convening that great forum and event, and listening to Professor Macharia Munene very carefully, dissecting and analyzing the events blow by blow. Actually, really, there is nothing that is so alarming. The statements that were made by the Director General NIS and the CDF. These are institutions that are seeking to interact with the public and to carry the public along in their activities rather than remaining shrouded in mysteries, but rather working with the public. And so by making observations, there is nothing wrong with observations. I think we are developing a culture as Kenyans that we get away with everything. that even impunity is right. Somebody must touch our shoulders and tell us that we are going overboard. You see, when we wake up and we shout around that Ruto must go, the president is doing 2 years, and he still has 8 years that is still entitled to him uh, based on the political events. I think it is an irrelevant clarion that anybody can encourage. It is sheer madness. It is not right. It is bad politics, and it's out of ordinary discipline in terms of politics, and that undermines the stability of the state and the implementation of government programs.
Point
So
of order.
to me,
Point of order.
Debal, to me, to me, Debal, the statements by the two institutions in a forum that is being open to the public is okay. We must also allow them to have space and freedom of making statements. So I see no harm about that one. And let me jump straight to the president's visit to Mount Kenya.
We'll
Mount
come.
Kenya is part of Kenya.
Point of
We'll
order.
we'll come to that, Honorable Session. Benji, you had to say something briefly?
Not
You have a
fair.
reaction? What's the point of
These
order?
spaces can be very productive. It's not fair for my elder brother Sosion to talk about the president's entitlement to 8 years. Mheshimiwa Session, the president will humbly go and seek re-election. Therefore, let us confine ourselves to the first term. This is the kind of thing that is causing all these problems across the board that we are seeing. To be fair, I know you're trying to help him. Talk about the first term. Don't make it like it's obvious the president must get 2 terms. There have been a lot of allegations on rigging and all these things based on the pronouncements, public pronouncements of Kinasudi. Kindly, this is a caution, humbly and professionally. Asante.
And I think Benji, let me clarify. If you listen to me properly, I said based on the political processes, including the elections of 2027. I think it's good we become clear. He's entitled to 8 years, subject to re-election in 2027, and as per the constitution, he cannot exceed 10 years, and that is 2032. It's good when you seek clarification, and I think I should clarify myself. I am not saying there will be no elections in 2027. I am not saying Kenyans will not take decisions. They will, and the outcome of the ballot can be either way, and it can favor the president because we cannot predict exactly what will happen. And if he's favored, he has another further 5 years term. I think I'm right. I'm conscious and I'm very clear in my mind. But then I don't think we should deviate from the statement that were made by the two institutions, that of the CDF and the DG. They are opening themselves to the public. And I think we should encourage more public forums, more engagements, and let us allow every Kenyan to make statements, whether they're in the office of NIS, in the office of CDF. We cannot talk of, you cannot have a cake, your cake and eat it at the same time. You talk about freedom of speech, but you want to silence some institutions that really hold the security infrastructure of the country, and they can warn the country when it is regressing. Benji, let's not forget, in 2007, we played with the general elections. We played with the public, and we almost lost the country. It has happened to our country. And what we are seeing now, and you think it is fun to say Gen Zs are having ABCD or Kenyan youth are angry. I think we have responsibility as leaders to try and calibrate the political situations and moods of the country so that then we can operate within the domains and norms of normalcy, where we can reason as a country, where we can work within Vision 2030 of concentrating on issues within the political pillar rather than focusing on individuals. And I think those shouting against the president are also being totally and extremely unfair to the president. It is being personalized rather than talk about the issues that the presidency ought to deliver. I think it is good we become also factual at times. But I agree largely with what Professor Nikal is talking about, that it is all about effective and efficient delivery of services to the people of Kenya, that which is
Thank you.
needed. And that
Thank you.
is where we should anchor our arguments and questions.
Honorable Sosion, for interest of time, I think I should butt in so that we can go on quickly as well. Joshua Kipto, you've been listening in. Also, you've been fairly silent. I think we've made all the circles here. So, what is your sentiments on this as well? Even as we're winding up on the issue of NIS, do you think, from your own assessment, uh, the independent oversight bodies such as Parliament, or yes, not really oversight, not Parliament. Maybe when you're talking about NIS, question will be how can independent oversight bodies, yes, such as Parliament, effectively monitor intelligence agencies to ensure accountability without interfering the national security operations? I think this will be more apropos for James Chikal, but you can chime in just to give us also your assessment as James Chikal will pick up on that. Thank
Thank you very much, Bal. I think I'm happy we've had more or less feedback from the people who are in the forum. And Professor mentioned what was said. Haman Manyora also mentioned. And then finally, Honorable Sosion has also butted in. Now, my comments when it comes to the intelligence service as well as the military per se, let's first look at the history we've had the last 60 years. We have a security installation that was primarily set up by the Britons when they were here as a colonialist. And we are still within that frame of mind. It's still the neo-colonial mind where security is always hush hush, hidden, mystical, and what have you. I'm seeing the forum that the DGNIS held as an eye opener, and I would want to draw parallels with what happened in 2004. If we remember very well, for the benefit of our younger Gen Zs, in 2004, after the purge on the judiciary, but still within the old constitution, the judiciary led by the Court of Appeal judges, because by then that was the highest court, led by the Court of Appeal judges, Justice Bosire, Riaga, Molo, all these old judges, some have, actually most of them have retired, created or did a public session at KICC. And it was the first time real everyday Kenyans Wanjiku were meeting the judges one on one and seeing them. And the judges came traditionally in the format that has always been. You see the way Court of Appeal judges robe, the black and red and fully dressed in the judicial regalia, and they now came to say we want now to interact with the public, the people we dispense justice to. The sessions were emotive, very emotive, because people came to the session complaining, accusing the judges. In fact, one of the most ironical or the funny one was when Justice Bosire was with the mic. If my memory serves me right, I don't know which judge, but I think it was Bosire. When he was with the mic, a lady came and complained how she has seen injustice to the point she's sick, she's diabetic, her matter she's been taken around 16 years in the judicial courts to the point she's lost her land, she lost the husband to depression and all that. And Bosire asked her, which case is that and which judge? And she told him, it is you, my lord. And the judges had to seek a break, then to come back. But it was the first time the judiciary was interacting with the public. And the comments came in fast, furious. But ultimately, after that one session, subsequently, and even coming to the new constitution, where we now set up the Judicial Service Commission, then we set up the Supreme Court. It was from that first initial session where people and the judges were meeting one on one that the judges, for the first time, were coming to terms with the reality of how people perceive the judiciary. And for me, that was a major, major move towards opening up the mysticism around judiciary. Now, this is the same moment with the security organs. For the intelligence service university to open up an open forum, and Prof said people are being invited more or less like from an open forum perspective. Whoever is interested with governance, whoever is dealing with governance teaching, I'm sure Prof and the rest are, those are the subjects they teach, security and what have you. They were now given a chance to have one-on-one session. For me, that was a take home, whereby it was the first time now Kenyans were seeing what intelligence service is all about, and more importantly, getting to hear from them. Because what we've had all these years is always a very opaque system where people only, in fact, they are in the shadows. It is always hush hush. And the intelligence service has always been doing the political hunch. Why do you think Kenyans would react the way they're reacting? Because we are used to this concept of deep state. Deep state, deep state. In fact, the first time this deep state thing was crushed to pieces was in 2022, when the elections didn't go for the incumbent. Because all the time we always have this notion that as long as you're in power and you control the levers of power, including security installations, then it's a shoo-in. But how Azimio lost with all that infrastructure in place was an eye-opener. And I feel with the intelligence service and the military guys coming out clear, they are completely and clearly demystifying that. The only difference would be it is allowable to understand why people react the way they react. By virtue, they have mythically held these two big offices, the CDF and the head of intelligence, as the de facto deep state guys with like they hold the fate of the country at hand. You'd understand the whatever more or less like the trepidation that came when they're saying we are warning you, or this thing about Ruto must go, it is getting out of hand. And immediately you realize every other thing that the CDF said was lost, because he said his main message, if I listen to his speech, was that please, when it comes to change of power, it can only come through the ballot. It can only come through the democratic system adopted as per our constitution. Why was he saying that? It is also under the backdrop of what Raila had mentioned. Because when Raila mentioned that we came in to support William Ruto to save him from a coup or to save him from a point of a military takeover kind of a thing. And I felt the military was spooked. The moment you saw the minister, the defense minister coming out denying. So I thought the CDF were using this platform to buttress that. But the message was lost the moment he said, even this Ruto must go. We need to be careful with it. People read it as if they're coming in to speak on behalf of William Ruto because of the terrain we are facing at the moment. So my two take homes is one, it is a good gesture. It's a good thing to open up. Even as we head to the elections of 2027, we are literally demystifying this idea that there are other powers that can dictate, can move things. That is one. So and I would encourage that the same outfits, the same security outfits should go out of their way to engage. Those are the part of the reforms Herman Manyora is referring to. You can no longer operate in the old sense where you're operating in the shadows and assuming that you have a grip of things. Come out. Look, they have the operational manual. We cannot tell them how to do it, but we're just encouraging that. One of the reforms is creating a very robust engagement mechanism. Now that we are tech savvy, we are IT savvy. Look, we are having here in a meeting in our various locations, but we're able to connect. Now, the same security installations must move with a cheese and be in such spaces or even engage and demystify, even having a customer care desk. I saw a very small thing that the DCI people did. You've seen their Twitter page. They always have a Twitter handle. They have their Facebook page. And whoever is handling that account at times has been really hilarious and giving very funny statements, sarcastic comments and all that. In fact, at times even they trend where they say, DCI has not commented, where is the admin? Why do you think they do that? That enhances community engagement. People now feel safe and happy. They can even report directly through this Twitter handle and say, hey, this something happened. Now, those are the part of the reforms you would want to see. However, it is also understandable why the people reacted the way they are reacting, because they are from a backdrop where they always know that the security entities always come in for the incoming. Check 207. The 207 debacle, once the elections went the way it went, and the declaration was done by the Iebc chair, then Kiv Witu, Harred swearing in. There was a feeling that it was more or less like it was being coordinated. The security agencies, the judiciary, by then, of course, because they were all under the power of the presidency. It was before the new constitution. People remember that. People don't forget that. What was the first, or who were the first victim of the post-election? It was people who faced the brunt of the bullet from the police. Kisumu was the first, in the first day, first night, if you remember the Krieger report, 350 people were shot dead in Kisumu, the first day. Before even where I come from erupted, Rift Valley, Eldoret and the rest, our police erupted 1 week after. People actually were picking up anger by seeing what is happening. But in the first instance, the first casualties were as a result of police brutality. And that is the no, that is the backdrop where you find now the society is reacting with this anger, with this vitriol. It's basically the catchment. You are more or less stirring the hornet's nest. However, that should not stop them from engaging and coming out clear and making clear that, in fact, it is a chance for them to demystify. We want now to see more the military spokesman. How many times have we seen this person speaking? Only once in a while when there's something. But this is the time they engage. They even have forums, sessions, says, look, guys, we don't mean mad. Maybe this was misinterpreted. This is what we meant. As we respect the law. The military can even go back during the Gen Z. Remember, they were cheered when they came to the streets because them they didn't shoot any bullet, any tear gas. They just came and told people time is up. 6, time is up. People need to go home. And remember their jeeps. People are climbing on their jeeps as they were going through Langata Road, through to Kangemi. That showed you there's a bit of a goodwill and trust that they can build from such. Public engagement makes a difference. NIS, nothing different because NIS has been this shadowy. In fact, you don't even know who they are because that is their operational manual. That's how they operate. But now that the DG is the face and is known and operationally he is allowed to speak because them they don't operate like the other agencies where you have a spokesperson and the rest. If they see the need be to have a spokesperson, no problem with that. I've seen the other intelligence services across the globe. Quite a number of them have a media engagement. CIA, they never share most of the details, but they never fail to give a statement, however vague it is. Now that Nurdin has decided to bring such open forums, nothing will beat that than assuring or assuaging this bitterness and this anger that is there. And then they must never speak per se as if they are speaking what the president is saying, because the presidency is a whole much different institution, independent by itself, elected and accountable to the people. The security agencies, again, constitution has given them some operational autonomy. The DG NIS is, because you ask about where parliament comes in. Remember that they are vetted, of course, confidentially by parliament. Then parliament also approves their budget. Why do you forget that however confidential the vote is, it still goes through parliament? Kabando can confirm that. James Nyikal, Honorable, can confirm that. Honorable Sosion has served in parliament, can confirm that. It goes through the defense committee. It's only that it is not per se shared or it's not per se open to scrutiny as much. I wouldn't speak for the audit mechanism for the security budget, especially defense and the intelligence service, but I would assume internally that must be there. MPs have a say. By virtue, every money spent from the consolidated fund came through an approval of the members of parliament. You can't ask anything better than that. I'm actually surprised and happy by Honorable Nikal coming out clearly. He's now been appointed to be the chair of the health committee. There's no better person who would want to sort out the problems of SHA. And I'm happy he's spoken candidly that indeed there is a problem, because the first thing is to acknowledge the operational messes that come with SHA. And I'm happy the president, it took him long, but ultimately the president acknowledged and say, we have to fix this. Duale must come with the same humility, but a team effort, because one of the disconnects, and when it comes to oversight from the parliamentarians, I always find this disconnect whereby you find the MPs sitting with the executive discussing in the close quarters during their parliamentary group meetings. For example, the Kenya Kwanza team will meet the president, the ODM will meet their principal, the WIPO will meet their principal. They discuss in their close quarters, they just make overall statements and then they go back. How about robustly engaging independently? For example, what happened to the parliament we are used to, where they would speak authoritatively? The way James Nikal has spoken here and said SHA has a problem and has statistics. 4 million are contributing, 20 million have signed up. Why don't we see such robust, same with resolutions, not just speaking and making comments, with resolutions through their committee, and even summoning the ministers, not just to summon to hear their story, but to take them and give specific timelines and even call them back again and say, we gave this, it's not working. Importantly, parliamentarians have the power that even executive doesn't have, in terms of they have the money to go to the field. The impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua came with a very good precedence on matters public participation, where I remember the court made it clear that we have to do it at the constituency level. Why don't we take such important initiative to the constituency level? Even the budget making process, make it appeal to ourselves. So as I conclude, I would say, Dibal, to answer that, Parliament has every tool, has every ability to oversight even the security agencies, even though they may not be on camera or open to the public, even in camera, but Kenyans would want to know this is what has been agreed, or even giving statements and being clear that for every money we give to the security agencies, whether NIS, whether military, there must be value for it, because we're just in a governance moment. In fact, I wanted to to maybe comment one thing. Honorable Sosion says the main issue here is that we need to give president time. That is true. I think the president can choose to just focus on his projects and programs. We have 2 years to the next election. Government is never straightforward. You may want to achieve everything, but that may not be possible. I would love where the president picks the signature issues that are very dear to Kenyans. One on the economy, we can agree the good things that has been done. For example, if you talk about stabilizing the shilling, trying to stabilize the inflation, those have happened. But there's that one question remaining when it comes to economy. Why are people down in the field not feeling it? The president then should go hard and address. When he sits with his Council of Economic Advisors and the Treasury people, and I'm happy the freshness that John Buddy is bringing. Even though the statement he made about the corruption, I wouldn't go into that. I was more keen with his mode of engagement. I saw him in Jivanji with the Bunge la Mwananchi. I've seen him in TV once, twice. That level of engagement, because people, Kenyans specifically, would want to understand. When you see all these good statistics, inflation has come down, we've been able to manage it, we've managed the shilling, we've been able to tame the debt problem that is a crisis. How comes people are not feeling it in the pocket? That should be the signature agenda. Even as the president goes to Mount Kenya, I'm sure that is the agenda people would want to hear. Number two, if you pick the signature programs like health, universal healthcare, university funding model, these are dear programs. When you talk about university funding model, you are speaking to the heart of the Gen Z. When you talk about universal healthcare, every single of us here in our platform know very well Kenyans are always one disease away from poverty. However rich or good you are, one disease away. How many times have you seen people seeking help on medical? If you look at the WhatsApp groups that we all join, when it comes to funerals, we still fundraise. So these are very personal things that if you ask me, the president then needs to say, look, we may not achieve everything that we had promised, but we can die on this mountain where we promise universal health care. That has to happen. And that's where parliament comes in. The more oversight parliament offers, the better for the executive. We should not just be praise singing and say everything is working. No. Where it is not working, it is clear eyeball to ball, and tell the president, this one is working, this is not working. And I think that's what will work. And the president, for me, has 1.5 years to make the difference, because once we get into 2026, it is strictly politics. That one now, everything is off. And when it comes to politics, there's there's no time even to discuss issues the way we are discussing objectively now. It's about now getting the vote, getting out to the vote, or hunting for the vote and trying to shape narratives. But for now, there's a huge chance for this year up to March 2026 for the signature programs and the projects to work. And Parliament has to play a critical role. Remember, Parliament is not just an oversight body. They are the ones who approve the budget. They're the ones who give the right to spend. For the government to operate and spend as is. The finance bill that was the basis of the contention and the basis of the Gen Z protests emanated from Parliament. So it's a wake-up call. And each arm of the government, I'm happy the judiciary has been trying to stake its claim. But
Right.
Parliament, this is the time for the Parliament to make the difference. Thank you, Dibara.
Thank you, Joshua.
Wakili Ndegwa.
Thank you. Just to wrap up on this particular topic, I want just to drop in Kabando, then I'll invite Begwa, and of course to talk about the Mount Kenya tour. Kabano, I just want us to wrap up on this issue of NIS. I don't know what would be your sentiment, and Haman Manyora.
Dibar, perhaps before you invite my friend Kabando,
yes, please.
Allow me just to in on that issue of. Can you hear me, Dibar?
Yes, I can hear you.
I have had praises going around about how the two gentlemen performed and how good it was for them to come out in public and how good it is for the democracy. My appeal to them is only one, that they should not just be coming to play some PR. If they indeed they want to be transparent and accountable, we should go full throttle. That should also include the expenditure. Let us know how much money is allocated to them by Parliament, so that they may not just say that we only want to be transparent in one way and the other one becomes confidential. Because their budget is one of which the executive uses and abuses as and when they so wish. So if we are speaking about transparency, we are speaking out about accountability, we are speaking about the rule of law, it then should not be confidential anymore that their budgets and their works are sacred. Number two, Mr. Haji, if he studied enough with the truth, he should have told the nation what his institution has done in regard to the abductions and the extrajudicial killings that have been taking place. Number three, the president has been seen to be making serious goofs and miscalculations. Yet we are presumed to be having a functional NSIS. Is it therefore that the NSIS is not properly equipped so as to brief the president appropriately so that the president may make the right decisions? Number four, why did it become an issue during His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua impeachment when His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua called the NIS director to order? I mean, was the deputy president not trying to do what Haji is purporting to do now, to call him to order, to accountability? Why was it a big issue that it became an impeachment ground that you cannot question the works of the NIS? If you could not question them then, the works then, why now? Why are they pretending to be open to the people? Why are they pretending to be a people-geared institution? To me, I think it's just mere PR. And of course, it will tell you that they're trying to silence the dissidents' voices. If their actions is good-willed and was done in good faith, why did they conclude on the question of the Ruto must go issue? Why did they venture into a political question? Why did they venture into issues that are active in politics? So to me, I think this is just a PR exercise, but we are challenging them that if they so wish to be scrutinized, let them come with an open book policy. I don't want to speak about issues of accountability, oversight, which I had my good friend Joshua speak about, because you cannot speak about parliament currently. Today, parliament works has been mutilated, deliberately mutilated by the executive. For example, just give one example. You speak about Badi and his good interventions, but you forget that Badi is supposed to be the person who is supposed to offer oversight to Badi is an ODM fellow, the member of parliament in charge of the budgetary. If you go to energy in sector in the Senate, Opio and I is supposed to be oversighted by Oburu Odinga. What oversight are you speaking about? What is this that you're telling us? This is just mere lip service. We have to gather ourselves and redeem this country and rebalate it. Thank you, Dibal. I'll wait for the next session.
Mount Kenya tour, briefly. What is your assessment, and what are the potential, what not really diplomatic, but what are the key political stakes for both President Ruto and former Deputy President Gachagua in this visit? Because I think now, as we know, the tensions are high, and I know, of course, he has his intelligence as well that the ground has shifted. It's hostile. It's bound to be. And what are some of the silent things that the president should be cognizant of going forward to Mount Kenya? Aman Manyora, if you can hear me.
Thank you, Deba. I think the president is fully aware the mountain is restive. He's very aware that the people have rejected him. He's aware of the resentment and the anger around the mountain. But nevertheless, he chooses to face them head on. It's a gamble. I hope it's not a product of misadvice, because in this country, leaders are always misadvised. They listen to sycophants. They listen to people who echo what they are thinking and feeling. They create a, a sort of unreal situation and turn it into what is the reality. So I just hope the president is aware he's going to face people who resent him, people who don't want him. If that is the case, then one, he's gambling that he may come off looking bad, or he will address make believe rallies, manufactured crowds. You can buy a crowd, but still try to pass a message that you are still in charge. The people still love you. That's okay. It's calculated. It's part of politics. I only would shudder to imagine it would be the case that the president believes the people who would be telling maybe Kindiki and the rest that things are okay. If that is the case, to be very bad for Gashagwa. He has a crowd. His fear would always be: is there a possibility the president can charm his way into the hearts of the people once more? The people are with me. Can the president undo what I have done? Of course, that's not quite possible for now. So he should not be overly worried that the president could undo what he has done, that the people could turn from Gashagwa back to the president. But there's always that fear and that anxiety. Uh, I hope also that the former deputy president has not tried to smear the ground like in the Kenyan politics, where people plan heckling, they plan to people to disrupt. I hope he has not done that, because that is always counterproductive. You want to test the real thing. If you are Gashago, you want to see what is my work, what is the worth of my work. I have made the people turn away from this guy. Has it succeeded? So let it be organic. Observe from far. Don't interfere. Let him walk, and at the end of the 5 days, you can sit down and laugh and say, ha ha ha, this guy didn't succeed. So I'm just hoping that the one, Gashoga shouldn't be very worried that his work will be undone, and two, I'm also praying and hoping that he doesn't turn out doing what many politicians do, to organize people, to heckle the president, to disrupt the rally. That will be counterproductive. But the best way to me is let the president move in the region. Let him see for himself, because the president is not a fool. He knows the difference between a manufactured crowd and an organic crowd. These are people who celebrated him. These are people who cheered him. These are people who appreciated him and welcomed him in the churches, in their homesteads, in villages and markets and towns in Mount Kenya. He's able to see for himself if there's any change. And I believe there's a lot of change. And that to me is good, because when he leaves Mount Kenya, the president should recalibrate his politics. That should give him a good idea of the mood, not just in Mount Kenya, but in this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. I just wanted to ask, Prof, before you settle a bit, the question of Ruto's recent appointment of Geoffrey Ruku to replace Justin Muturi as a public service CS appears to be a calculated move. So the question becomes, will such tactical replacement be enough to pacify a politically restless Mount Kenya, as you indicated it is a bit restive right now? Briefly.
You see, Diba, when you remove somebody of the stature of Justin Muturi, a national figure like Justin Muturi, and you replace him with a village politician, it shows you are out of touch with reality. It confirms the feeling in this country that the president doesn't seem to understand, one, the gravity of the problem he's facing, and two, what people are feeling really. Because you cannot replace Muturi with somebody like that. It shows you are out of touch with the reality. It then makes everything you do laughable. the people then realize that the person we are dealing with is not a person who understands the ground. He was a very good person with the ground. He knew the ground, what has transpired in the past 2.5 years. So that the man who was in touch with the ground is so much out of touch with the ground that he can imagine you can replace Muturi with somebody I can't even know his name, some first-time MP who is not even known. That to me really surprises me, because I expect a lot more from the president. He should know that that can't wash. If those are the things you are doing and believe you can win the mountain back because of that, then you are really lost. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Macharia, before we come to Ndego and Jiro. Professor. Kindly unmute. Professor, what is your take? Professor Macharia Munene. All right, as Professor is trying to put his ducks in a row, let's just...
Yes.
Okay, yes, Prof.
Okay.
I know you've been fairly silent, so I wondered if you was...
No.
Yeah, but you're listening in, yes?
No, I think Herman is right. The president seems to be out of touch with reality. And but it boils to perceptions. People in the mountain, the perception they have of him is that he's not very reliable. And they put their trust in him, having rejected Uhuru, and they expected better than what they think they are getting. The president seems to be a man who listens to himself a lot. And yes, he has the final authority, he believes. It is not necessarily true that he does not get good advice. But if he doesn't get good advice, he chose the advisors himself in that case. Now, why is the perception so negative towards him? It's not so much because of one or two people, whether it's Gachagua being improperly removed from office, and people believe it was improper, it was unfair. And then Gachagua looks as if he is doing better out of office than when he was in office in terms of public endorsement. And it's not a question of removing Muturi and then you put somebody with a name like Roko and they expect shifting one for the other. That's underrating people's intelligence, which is not a very good thing. But in general, people have felt that the president is very unfair to them. The policies that he has adopted have appeared to be vindictive, to be designed to make people poor, not rich. Whether it is the health policies, the education policies, which are having a lot of problems. The people then see now the thousands of people who are going to be missing university education because of the so-called funding model, which was very poorly advised. There was not very much discussion of thinking about it, but it was something new. To say that there's something new, and then the people who appear to be the the ones to be punished by that kind of new thing, many of them they see themselves in the mountain region. They're the ones who are being victimized. The taxes are also not, they don't discriminate one or the other, but everybody is feeling the weight of the taxes. And the people in the mountain region feel it more and more. And whom do they blame? They blame the president because he's the one who comes up with it. The impression that has come up, sometimes coming from the people in the government, that the sovereignty of the country has been mortgaged, or it's no longer in Kenya. When last year, during the tax crisis, and people asked, why are you doing that? And the people, the mandarins in the treasury and others were saying, oh, the IMF told us to do that. Then you ask, we never voted for IMF. what is the IMF doing? And they're dictating what's going to happen to an independent people. So a lot of accumulation of things that made the president and his team look very, very bad. It also raises the question of the policy makers who surround him, whether he has the right people making policies for the country. And it turns out, so it appears, that many of the people who are in policy making positions do not even know what they are doing, and yet they are there. So when you have people, incompetent people in policy making positions, you end up with a lot of bad policies whose implementation is impossible. It appears like the Shashi, those things were badly thought out, and then people trying to implement do not know what they are doing. Some of them have admitted they really don't know what they are doing. And the people see this, they know it. So, and who is there to be blamed for that? It is the head guy, the man who orders these things to be done, because it's him who orders things to be done, and people know that. So all the anger, the suffering, the pain, the poverty that has increased is all directed at the person of the president, because he's the one responsible, or ultimately responsible. There appears to be discrimination, whether rightly or wrongly, but there appears to be so. Whether it's a question of appointments and resource allocation and all those kind of things, people do feel the pain and they think that something has gone terribly wrong, not the way they thought. So when the president now undertakes his 4 or 5 day tour of the region, it's actually an act of desperation, in the hope that somehow he might create some base of support. And yes, he will get some people to cheer him. And yes, there'll be some people going to listen to him. But the general, whatever happened in the next few days is unlikely to change the attitude of the people unless there is drastic change in policy at the top, so that it does not appear to be discriminatory. It does not appear that there is a policy designed to make people poor. If that is eliminated, then they might try to go back and look at him in a different way. But right now, his policies appear to be wrong-headed, and that explains the perception of the president as the wrong person as far as they are concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof, for those sentiments. Some of the policies are wrong-headed, as you say, and it seems is a move that is of desperation. I wanted to
Yes,
and wanted to say also that yes, talking about advisors, we had invited Moses Kuria here, and yes, he just landed, so he texted and said he could not make it. He just landed, and he could not really make it for a discussion here. Would have been nice to hear if he's in the circles of whom or the people who are actually giving advice to the president regarding all these moves that we're seeing around. Thank you very much. Dego and Jiro, I just wanted to ask you, first of all, really, given, let me just try and mute Prof's mic, given that Ruto was put during his last visit to the region in November 2000, last year, 2024, what measures must he take during his upcoming tour to regain his confidence or the confidence of Mount Kenya's voters? Do you think it's going to be another specter waiting to happen? A lot of booing, the Ruto must go chance, maybe to be heightened from your assessment?
Thank you, Dibal. And it's a heavy duty or obligation when you invite me to speak after the distinguished professors have made their submissions. I'll just largely add and what they have already submitted on, and say that I was in Kirinyaga yesterday, and I was also in Kirinyaga on Friday, and I've gone around the mountain since the William Ruto announced his intended visit. I've also been able to attend various radio shows, and we've had our listeners calling back and giving us feedback as to what is happening kule kwa ground. And to be honest and to join issues with what the good professors have submitted on, is that the mountain is gone and gone forever. And there is no political massage that will entice the mountain back to where it was in 2022. And the booing that happened last November might even be an aggravated one this time round, noting that the people of the mountain are now coming into terms with the warning that was given by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Remember, Mr. William Ruto is one person who has taken it upon himself to completely and strategically and systematically um, 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 put off, or rather kill any budding dream of any Mount Kenya leader. When Uhuru Kenyatta was a president, he directed all the hatred as against His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. At that time, he even came up with the cliche or with the rallying call of the dynasty versus the hustlers. All that which was geared towards creating hate against any upcoming or any perceived or any known Mount Kenya leader. And so that happened to His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua. When he realized that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua was entrenching himself in the mountain, he started to debut him. He dehoned him up to where he is today. So the people of the mountain have now realized that Mr. William Ruto is systematically making sure that we are politically segregated and economically segregated. When he moves to attack our leaders or the upcoming leadership in Mount Kenya region, the people are not happy with that with that trend. And I agree with the submissions made by Professor Haman that you cannot remove C.S. Muturi and replace him with a demagogue in the nature of Roku. Why? Because, and that is one of the things that the people of the mountain are asking, kwa nini kila wakati unatutolea viongozi wetu? Why are you only attacking the leadership from Mount Kenya region and you're not attacking the leadership from other regions? The next issue that the people of the mountain are asking, and I'm telling you, the crowd is very hostile, and there is no amount of money that will be poured that will appease these people, is that the people of the mountain have now realized that the William Ruto of YK92, the William Ruto of 1997, the William Ruto of 2007 is the same William Ruto of 2024. And they're so much aggrieved by the fact that he lied to them, the fact that he came with a veil on his face that covered the character of the 1992, the 1997, and the 2007 William Ruto. They have now realized that after lifting the veil, the William Ruto of 2007 is the same William Ruto who has had the idea of systematically exterminating the mountain from the national political arenas. And therefore, the people of the mountain are there. They have not welcomed this man. They are not even ready to go and listen to his lies. And there is this lie that is going around the mountain that, oh, you shall be taken to the opposition for the next 80 years. You know, this kind of profiling has only happened when William Ruto is at the steering wheel. In 2007, when he was leading the ODM campaigns, he came up with the same style, same profiling, same script of profiling the people of the mountain. And you can see now the person who has now been appointed to continue this profiling is Honorable Kaluma, Peter Kaluma. And people are not happy with this kind of the profiling because they're asking, why are you discriminating and segregating us? Why are you setting the other communities as against the people of the mountain? Dibal, as I pen off, there is the people of the mountain are now aware that the policies as put by Professor Masharia, that William Ruto has put into place are meant to continuously segregate the mountain economically. So he will come. People will just go to, perhaps they'll just go for those meetings, and we have warned them that it is counterproductive for them to perhaps attempt to boo William Ruto. And I can confirm this, that His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua has not instructed any person to go out and boo Mr. William Ruto. But again, no one has the control of what the crowd is capable or potentially capable of doing. We are not there. None of us is going to attend those meetings. None of us is going to attend those rallies. And we are telling the people of the mountain that it is your right to be, the right to development is one of the constitutional provisions that we are all entitled to. Because the Constitution presupposes an equitable and equal distribution of resources. And when we speak about equitable and equal distribution of resources, we are not looking at the political inclination or your political orientation. The Constitution presupposes that the country shall be developed uniformly. And that is why if you look at the budgetary allocation, budget is not allocated in accordance with the political inclination. And therefore, the people of the mountain are not worried that they may not be in government now or even in the future, because the Constitution is the guiding principle. You do not need to be in government for you to enjoy the allocation of resources. And that is a lie that we must debunk, so that we are not being invited to support William Ruto in disguise that the development belongs to him. Developments do not belong to William Ruto. He is not the owner of our resources. He is not the one who allocates resources. When he purports to come and say that he's allocating resources to us or is bringing development to us, he's just being the Ruto that we know, a political fraudster. And therefore, we are not ready for this fraud, Dibal. We'll continue giving hope to our people that it matters not who is the president, as long as the Constitution is going to be respected and the rule of law will reign supreme. Thank you, Dibal.
Thank you, Wakili, for that. I know we are stuck for time. Even as we're winding up, I just want to come back to you, Honorable Susion, on this matter briefly. With Gachagua planning to also launch his new political party and working with opposition figures like Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, Martha Karua, could we see formidable Mount Kenya-led opposition against Ruto in 2027? Briefly, sir. Then we need to wind up. Kindly remember to unmute, Honorable Susion. Honorable Susion. Kindly remember to unmute if you can hear me. All right, I think Susion is out of reach right now. Haman Manyora, you wanted to respond to that particular question even as we are winding up? Or let me hear, yeah, Haman Manyora, then we come to Dr. James Nyika.
The sentiments expressed by Wakili Ndegwanjiru are basically universal in terms of what is happening on the mountain. And there will be no point of adding anything because, like I've said before, the president is going up against a very big current, swimming against the current. Just to reiterate that, I hope he has not been deceived. I hope he's not delusional. I hope he knows the challenges he's facing. And well, as Gachagua prepares to do his thing in terms of his political party, I think he has prepared the ground well. I only pray and hope that all this plays out in a peaceful environment. The president goes there, does his thing, he gets the message loud and clear. And I'm very sure the president will leave Mount Kenya knowing that those people really are out of him. That will be, there will be no doubt about that. But then he should do his thing, let him do it peacefully. Let Gachagua launch his party. Again, we pray that that party should be as national as possible. Of course, we know the realities of our Kenyan politics, but we pray that those who are in charge of the new party will be people we can look and say, well, they may not quite be across the country, but really there's a fair share of Luya there, a fair share of Luo in that party, so that it's not just a Mount Kenya party. But otherwise, it's just to say that the mountain is tricky for the president, and but we pray for him. He needs our prayers. Thank you.
Right. Mount is tricky for the president. He needs our prayers. Dr. James Yikal, just get your sentiments as we wind up, and I think we'll get a more robust analysis after the event or the tour.
Well, as I stated earlier, it is unfortunate that it is easy to mobilize people and organize parties on tribal lines. I always say that if two miracles occurred, that we could get rid of ethnicity and corruption, this country would rise like a phoenix from the ashes. But that's not reality. So the president is going, and it's all about 2027. I really wish that we would take more time sorting out the issues that are concerned to the people. But we have mobilized the people to believe that when your man is there, you then, that is when you get the services. As the previous speaker was saying, we should actually try to move people away and say the allocation of resources according to the constitution. That, having said that, let him go, but I think it will be difficult to convince the people otherwise. Looks like the former deputy president has successfully convinced the mountain that it is only through him that things will come. I'm not even sure that that is true, but it is the sad thing. That is how our politics is organized. But let him go and let people play politics. It will be politics either side. Him trying to convince that he can get through, the other trying to show that you can't get in here. Where is the interest of the people in all this? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. James Chika. I think, ladies and gentlemen, let's just wind up right now, looking at the time as well, 10 minutes to 12, way beyond time, I should say. And I know also we're getting tired. Our minds also are shutting off. Thank you so much. I just want to give each and every one of you just a minute to just give us your closing remarks. Let's just begin with you, James Chikal, since you're on the mic. Just briefly, thank you first of all for being amazingly patient. Now I've kept you awake, Dr. Nikal, but you've given us a wonderful insight, especially from the legislators' angle. Thank you so much. Your closing remarks, sir.
My closing remarks, let's try as hard as possible to get rid of two things in this country. It's very hard, but I think we must try. Can we fight ethnicity and corruption and look at how we improve the welfare of our people? People suffer. It doesn't matter who is in power. If things are not run well, whether they are from your home, you still suffer. So mine is a long, short prayer can we reorganize our politics to serve our people rather than to serve political people?
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Jantika. I'm going to closing remarks. Thank you also for being amazing patient. I really do appreciate it.
The bar, just to touch, I think your mic is on or somebody's mic is on, making it a little difficult. I think it's the bar, yes. The bar, just to finish by going back where we started, the very serious topic of the military and the intelligence. I just wanted to respond to what somebody said that sometimes back, I think he talked about 2004 thereabouts, that the judiciary had a session with the public in which they opened up and talked to the public, and that thing has been maintained. It is called the Judiciary Week these days. I just want to point out that the military is a special unit. You cannot look at the military in the way you look at anything else. Parliament can talk to the people, the executive can talk to the people, the judiciary, but the military is unique. In fact, in fragile economies like countries like ours, nascent young countries like ours, the true custodian of the constitution is the military. And therefore, my advice to the military and intelligence chiefs, before we develop a communication infrastructure for now, just like the specialist in security, Werunga Simiyu said, look at the mood, look at the time, look at what's going on in the country, and please, 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 for now, do not engage the public, especially in matters that touch on politics. After we have developed the infrastructure for communication, then the military, the intelligence, the other security organs will be able to engage the public in much the same way some countries like America are doing. But for now, people will read ill motive. People will see the military and the intelligence doing the president's bidding. That may be wrong. That may not be true, but perceptions, like we have said, play a key role in public affairs. So just to say that the military is a specialized unit, very professional, and we would want to keep the tradition where they remain professional, where they do not touch on any topic that may be misconstrued to mean they are in support of the sitting president in a political context. That will not be good for the country, but the intention might have been good, except that they did not have control of how that information was then handled by the media and the public. So if they had had a communication infrastructure with the right people, then they would have said the same thing in a much more professional and less harmful way, which I advocate should be the thing to be done in future. Develop a serious infrastructure for communication where security matters may be passed on to the public in a very professional way. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Develop a security structure, a strategic security structure. So what was actually cherry-picked by the media may not be or will not have been the desire of the NIS. But of course, if we controlled that information in a more strategic way, maybe the consumption of that information will have been decidedly different. Professor Mashara Munene, briefly, your closing remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much. One, although things are not very good, people should not lose hope. There's always hope ahead. Now, the president has lost the trust of the public, of the people of Kenya. He needs to relook at his policies and take a bold step of reversing himself and his policies so that they do not appear to be vindictive, to be obnoxious, and to be failing, because they are failing. And if the policies fail, he fails. So it has been his interest to relook at the whole thing and change the direction so that the country does not continue to suffer because of wrong-headed policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Wakili Ndegwa, your closing remarks.
Thank you, Dibal. Thank you for hosting us this evening and the much well-informed discussion. I want to take a very different position, and I want to depart from what Dr. Nikal has said. We have always looked at ethnicity from a very negative perspective, and any person, and we have been able to bastardize it and demonize it. But we are urging all Kenyans of goodwill, if it is possible for us to mobilize from our professional background with a view of removing Mr. William Ruto from power, then that is so welcome. If we're able to mobilize ourselves from our associations, it is then welcome. If we're able to mobilize ourselves from even our clan perspectives with a view of removing Mr. William Ruto, then that is something that is good for this country. It is equally good for this country if we are going to practice what I call positive ethnicity. Positive ethnicity with a view of mobilizing ourselves from our ethnic extractions, from our ethnic cocoons, with one objective and with one view of voting against William Ruto and sending him home because of his bad policy and for his misrule. What am I saying? I am saying that the Kikuyus must mobilize themselves as a Kikuyu with a view of voting out William Ruto. The Kisis equally, the Kambas, the Mijikendas, every tribe mobilize itself from its ethnic orientation with a view of casting a vote against Mr. William Ruto. That is good mobilization of ethnicity. It's positive use of ethnic power because it is going to have positive results of liberating this country, redeeming this country, and reclaiming our country back and reversing the bad, oppressive, and extractive policies that Mr. William Ruto has placed on our shoulders. So I am inviting people of goodwill to mobilize ourselves positively with that one view. Good night, good night, fellow comrades, and thank you. See you on Sunday.